This month brings us a long-awaited beat-em-up sequel starring a likable hero who rarely comes out during the day and definitely knows a thing or two about being a party animal. Nope, I'm not talking about that new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles brawler, but rather Drunken Fist 2 Zombie Hangover, the vastly improved sequel to one of my least favorite games of 2021. That's right. The alcohol is flowing once again for another round of barely coherent beat-em-up action in a game that wisely ditches the ugly undertones of the original for a goofy horror game where everybody is stumbling around. But do you need to be intoxicated to enjoy Drunken Fist 2? Well, that's what I'm about to find out in this review. If you came to Drunken Fist 2 hoping to find out what happened to that old guy from the first game, well, prepare to be a little disappointed because Zombie Hangover tells a whole new story about another drunk guy. After waking up from a month-long binge, our nameless hero discovers that he's the last person alive during a zombie apocalypse. Equipped with a staggering amount of confidence and a hangover that just won't go away, he sets out on a 10-stage battle through the city in hopes of escaping the undead and, most importantly, finding more alcohol. Believe it or not, Drunken Fist 2 is a substantially better game than the dismal original. A lot of this has to do with the goofy horror theme, which perfectly pairs with the already silly concept of drunken brawling. Instead of being an old drunkard beating up jocks in a parking lot, we instead play a hero who has to pull it all together in order to fight for survival. The joke isn't that we're playing a guy who can barely stand up, but rather that everybody else in this world is stumbling around like they're completely plastered. It also helps that the game is a lot easier to play. When it came to the first game, the developers went way too far in recreating that sensation of being drunk. It often felt like you were never really in control and could barely pull off the admittedly impressive list of moves. That's not the case here. Yes, it still makes you feel like you're heavily impaired and fighting underwater, but the basic punches, kicks, and sweeps are a lot more consistent. I didn't feel like I was fighting the control as much as the original, and most of the zombies are fairly easy to defeat. It's also surprisingly satisfying seeing the blood, guts, and eyeballs flying out of the zombies as you smack them around. Although the hero and scenario may be different, a lot of the core mechanics remain the same. I mean, we still have to pick up bottles of beer for health and have to pee in order to make room for more alcohol. In fact, the most impressive thing about our drunk hero is just how much urine he's able to generate. This adds a unique twist to the beat-em-up formula, forcing us to take pee breaks between fighting zombies. This is something that's surprisingly easy to overlook, too, but let me tell you, you're not going to get very far with a full bladder. In that sense, Drunken Fist 2 is the most relatable brawler of the year. Now, when the gameplay works and the humor lands, it allows you to notice some of the other good things about the design. For example, I really liked how the levels are all connected, making it feel like you're just walking down one really long path to victory. It's also nice that the path is open enough to allow for some light exploration. The developers have done a good job of destroying the small town and giving us a battlefield that's a lot more interesting to play in. My only complaint is that there isn't enough variety in the levels. We see a lot of the same storefronts and houses on our way to the bridge, which is probably realistic, but can make the game feel a bit repetitive. Of course, the game also feels repetitive because you're basically just mashing the same buttons from one level to the next. Look, no amount of alcohol will change the fact that you're playing a 3D beat-em-up, and a simplistic one at that. You'll see a lot of the same types of enemies repeated throughout each level, which is pretty much par for the course, both when it comes to brawlers and zombie games. I mean, for a game that's already so silly, I was kinda hoping that the enemies would go even further over the top. Now look, I get it. I realize that this is probably starting to come off sounding like a positive review. After all, I've already praised the level designs, the gameplay, the premise, and even the gore. But in a world where Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge, and other good beat-em-ups are available to buy, Drunken Fist 2 comes up way short. Sure, it's significantly better than the offensively bad original game, but it's still a brawler propped up by a single gimmick. If you absolutely must buy a Drunken Fist game, this is certainly the one to get. However, I strongly recommend you never get yourself into a situation where you absolutely must buy a Drunken Fist game. I'm not sure the world needed a second Drunken Fist game, but here it is, now with a goofy zombie twist. With more responsive gameplay, a better hero, more interesting level designs, and body parts flying everywhere, this sequel outclasses the original in every conceivable way. It's still a repetitive novelty game that ends too soon and lacks much variety, but hey, at least it's not the dumpster fire the first game was. At this rate, all it's going to take is another 2 or maybe 3 sequels before this series actually becomes worth recommending. For now, I recommend you skip Drunken Fist 2 Zombie Hangover, but maybe keep hope alive that Drunken Fist 5 Tequila Shots with Tentacle Monsters will redeem this franchise once and for all. Hey, thanks for watching our review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now, here's the question I have for you. What is your go-to game when you're drunk? Personally speaking, I find myself going back to Rock Band a lot. Wait, I think I've said that before. Oh man, somebody should go and check to see if I asked the exact same question on that first Drunken Fist review. Oh, I probably even told the same story. Yeah, maybe you should just leave your picks in the comments so we can move on before any of this gets any more awkward than it already is. In other news, we'll be back next week. Probably. I mean, I can't really promise anything. I could have a heart attack and die this weekend. Who knows? And yes, I now realize I probably shouldn't have said that. This outro, it's a real mess. Yeah, just click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. You know what to do. Until then.